Once upon a time on this channel, a significant, if not majority amount of the videos were Star Wars videos, and even though I'm not sure anyone still cares what I have to say, I'm gonna keep making them. We finally got the official trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi on Monday night, and rather than talk about what we saw in the video and fanboy all over it, I want to dive straight into my analysis of what I thought of the trailer and what I think is going on with certain scenes that we saw and what we were shown. Now, before I go into this, I want to address what director Rian Johnson had said about the trailer, basically that it kind of included some spoilers for the film and that if you didn't want that, to avoid the trailer. I think that has to be misdirection because there is no way that one, Lucasfilm and Disney would include such things in a trailer, two, that Rian Johnson would allow it, and three, that Disney or Lucasfilm would allow Rian Johnson to mention that on Twitter without a serious amount of consequence. So I don't necessarily buy into that, and I will just leave it at that moving forward. A lot of times in trailers like this, certain scenes or voiceovers get cut and pasted to make things sound different than what the movie actually is, and I think that's definitely the case both with what it's talking about and just the overall sound of the Snoke voiceover at the very start of the trailer. I think there's obviously going to be some truth to the things that we do here, but I don't think those are going to be direct lines ripped from the trailer of Snoke saying those exact things. Now, I think everybody's first impression from watching the trailer is that if there was one thing that could be that major spoiler Rian Johnson was hinting at, it would be that Leia is going to die by the hands of her son, Kylo Ren. It shows the cuts in between Leia looking very distressed as if she knows something's going to happen, and Kylo Ren in his starship drifting into what looks to be a Rebel cruiser to likely destroy it. The problem with that is when you see the clips of Leia, nobody behind her seems like they're in battle, or they're in war, or in distress of any kind. You'd think they'd be running around. You'd think people would be at battle stations, and that the whole situation would be more chaotic. So I think that's definitely a case where whatever Leia's situation is, it's not directly related to battle, and I think most likely, whatever Kylo Ren's situation is in those clips of him looking emotionally conflicted, also probably not necessarily related to Leia, but I'll get to that in a minute. Going back to Star Wars Celebration this past year, one thing that we got that was a little bit of a hint of what to expect with The Last Jedi is that Rey feels a little bit underwhelmed with Luke. She has this idea of a hero of the Galactic Civil War, of what he should be, and that sometimes your heroes aren't exactly what you built them up to be in your mind. And I think probably part of this story is going to be Rey convincing Luke that she is pretty genuinely pure of heart and that he should help her tap into the power that she wields. I thought it was awesome to see that Luke is genuinely fearful toward Rey. I'm just left a little bit to wonder how far Luke's going to go to try and resist training Rey, and also how far they're going to go with the flashback sequence to apparently what will be when Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren pretty much undid Luke's Jedi Academy that we're led to believe he had, because it shows more of Luke kind of climbing out of rubble and seeing those burning buildings off in the distance while he stands there with R2-D2. Now, the other big thing from the trailer that feels like it could potentially have been major spoiler territory is where it implies at the very end that Kylo Ren and Rey are going to team up. Again, much like was the case with Kylo Ren and Leia earlier in the trailer, you see Kylo Ren with smoke billowing behind him and ashes falling and whatnot, and then they cut to Rey and it looks like where she's at in the caves on the island with Luke. It doesn't seem to match up. It definitely looks like those are two very different scenes that they spliced together to imply that something might be happening there. I'm not saying it won't happen, much like I'm saying it's not entirely out of the question that Leia doesn't die, and maybe even by the hand of Kylo Ren. I'm saying that the trailer is leading us to think that when it's probably going to happen differently, because that's the element of surprise in filmmaking. And going back to earlier in the trailer where Kylo Ren is looking distressed and we're led to believe he's about to attack Leia, I think that is just as likely and maybe even more probably related to something going on with Rey. We see a little short clip of what looks to be Snoke in the flesh doing something distressful to Rey, something that looks like borderline torture, and it wouldn't surprise me if that is what's distressing Kylo Ren, because here he has this master of his who probably has mentioned to her similar things that Palpatine said to Vader of, she will join us or die, much like they said about Luke once upon a time, and he's probably feeling conflicted about that. And again, I'm not saying the Kylo Ren and Rey thing teaming up won't eventually happen, I just don't think it's going to happen like we saw it in the trailer. Which, a quick side note, if you haven't watched the Reylo theory video by a YouTuber named Vincent Vendetta, you absolutely need to go watch that. I will link it in the comments below. It is, one, a massive undertaking that this dude did and put a ton of work into, but it is also very fantastically made and very convincing, and if nothing else, just really fun and intriguing to think about before it could potentially be undone when The Last Jedi arrives. So check out that link in the comments below for right after you watch this. Anyway, I know it is not much, but those are just a few of the thoughts that I had regarding this trailer and things that I feel they did a good job of leading us to think would be the case, but probably aren't when it all boils down to it. I think Lucasfilm has a very good grasp on how to make a trailer without spoiling very much, and I think there's no way that as filmmakers they would spoil that many major plot points of a movie beforehand, no matter how much excitement that they want to build. I also took a special point to go and rewatch the Force Awakens trailer from around this time 2 years ago, and a kind of a similar situation. You see a lot of cool things, and you could probably take a lot of things from it, but even having the context of what all those scenes mean at this point, you can kind of see that there's nothing you could really decipher about what the movie was or where it was going based on that trailer. I think knowing the characters a little bit more, yeah, you could probably take a little bit from this trailer, more than you could in that situation, but still strategically and just from an overall hype building standpoint, I think they definitely know what they're doing, to where what we saw in the trailer is probably definitely not what we initially think it is. So those are my quick thoughts on the trailer. Would love to know what other people thought about it as well, so feel free to put your own thoughts, your own takes, and whatnot in the comments below. I have not done any browsing of subreddits or anything like that yet regarding this trailer, so I'm completely out of the loop to some of the popular theories that might be out there. So if you've come across them, feel free to share them. If you enjoyed this video, you know I always appreciate you hitting the like button. If you want to see plenty more Star Wars videos as we get closer to and a little bit beyond The Last Jedi, I'm definitely going to be making a lot more of those, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them. But above all else, everybody, thank you so much for watching.